at some business news now for you on the programme. Brian Quinn is joining us from the business desk. He's starting today in the UK. Now, this is where the government is set to host what it is calling a global investment summit. What's this all about then, Brian?
So, Stuart, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak preparing to welcome a number of leaders from the world of business and finance to Hampton Court just outside London. Among them, the CEOs of Blackstone, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase. Sunak is seeking to highlight a raft of new investments in the UK worth £29.5 billion. Those include a new lab in Cambridge for the pharma firm BioNTech, a £7 billion investment by Spanish utilities giant Iberdrola into the UK's energy grid, and £2.5 billion by Microsoft into AI infrastructure. Sunak's government has been seeking to encourage more foreign investment amid some grim economic growth forecasts for the UK. Friday saw Japanese car maker Nissan announce a £2 billion plan there to build 3 electric vehicles at its Sunderland plant in northeast England. That's welcome news to local officials there.
It is another significant milestone in the partnership programme that places Sunderland at the centre of electric vehicle production in Europe, creating jobs and prosperity for this powerhouse region and supporting the low-carbon ambitions of all of our partners.
Let's get a check on the day's trading action now. Asian indexes in the red on Monday, with shares in Chinese property developers taking a big hit amid reports of an investigation into Chinese wealth manager Zhongji Enterprise Group. The company has lent heavily to developers. It declared insolvency last week with some $64 billion in liabilities, leading to fears that China's real estate crisis may be spreading to the financial sector there. The Nikkei in Tokyo, meanwhile, down 0.5% as inflation in Japanese business-to-business services hits a 45-month high. European indexes opening in the red as well as momentum from a recent global rally starts to fade. Energy shares are losing ground as investors look ahead to a deal on production cuts from OPEC later this week. The FTSE in London down around 0.33% at the open. And next, the holiday shopping season is officially underway in the U.S., with retailers tallying up results from Black Friday sales last week. So far, a mixed picture. E-commerce saw a big boost, up 7.5% over last year to hit $9.8 billion. Brick and mortar shops, though, reporting a relatively muted Black Friday with thinner crowds at malls and big box stores. Consumers apparently seeking heftier discounts online as persistent inflation and high interest rates take a bite out of purchasing power. U.S. holiday spending is projected to rise this year at its slowest pace in half a decade.
Retailers are finding that consumers are a little tighter with their dollar in that they're spending more on essential goods and services. So what that means is that they've had to increase the amount of discounts that they have across products. So that's across all categories: televisions, electronics, computers, toys, apparel.
To Australia now, where more than 100 people have been arrested during a 2-day blockade of the world's largest coal port. Some 3,000 activists swimming and kayaking in the shipping lane of the Newcastle port north of Sydney over the weekend. They were calling on the government of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to cancel the approval of 4 new coal mines. Some 25 other coal projects are currently in the government's approval pipeline as well. Australia sold $26 billion worth of coal last year. Officials say the country needs that revenue to fund its transition to clean energy. Protesters say that funding should come from a hefty tax on the dirtiest of fossil fuels. Take a listen here.
Coal is fueling the climate crisis. We are calling on the Albanese government to stop approving new coal and gas projects and to introduce a 75% tax on coal export profits that can fund the transition for workers and communities.
And finally, for business, new details are emerging in the U.S. lawsuit filed against Meta, parent company of Instagram. Attorneys general from 33 states say Instagram routinely documented the presence of children under the age of 13 on its platform and collected their data in violation of both federal child privacy laws and Instagram's own terms of use. The lawsuit's initial filing accused the platform of designing features known to be addictive and harmful to mental health, features like endless feeds and beauty filters. The latest details, though, show prosecutors accusing the company of coveting and pursuing underage users in a bid to ensnare the social media site's next generation of users. They say Meta received more than 1.1 million reports of users under 13 since 2019, but disabled only a fraction of those accounts. Meta denies the charges. Fines for violating the children's privacy law can run to $50,000 per violation. Stuart, 50,000 times 1.1 million is 51 billion, I believe. So it could add up to a hefty fine depending on how that trial plays out.
Yeah, we'll continue to follow it here on France 24 because that sounds incredible figures. Thank you very much. Brian Quinn with the business news here.